This episode of Brains on Games is all about fixing Formula One racing cars with math. Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald, and this episode, like I said, we are going to talk about a game that puts players in the role of a Formula One pit crew, repairing those cars to get them farther along on the track, and they're going to do that by using their knowledge of math. This is a game that's coming to Kickstarter later on in the spring, a game called Pit Formula. This is a game you can play with between 2 and 4 players. A game plays in about 20 minutes, and I'd say kids age 8 and up can definitely get involved and play this game. Let's take a look at the components and the rules for Pit Formula. You can see that there's some unusual spelling on the backs of these cards. This is a game that was sent to me that was not in English. They sent a copy of the English rules, but otherwise all of the cards are not in English. And so my son, whenever we drew a card that had to be read, he'd make up some crazy story about what was happening in the card. But luckily, you don't really require very much reading because everything is symbolic. Each player has a board like this that has all of the parts of their car that they're going to have to work on through the course of the game. There's 4 tires. I think you can probably only see 2 of them here. There's the engine and the fuel and the spoiler or the wing on the front of that Formula One racer. You're going to keep track of victory points up here with little wooden meeples to represent each color of the car that you're playing. These flags are what you grab at the end once you've completed your action and repaired your car. The first one to do that is going to grab the gold one, and then there's a silver and a bronze. These may not all be available. It depends on how many players are playing the game. So in a 4-player game, you'd have all 3, but in a 3-player game, there's only 2. It's like musical chairs. There's somebody who's not going to get one of these trophies. So when we played our 2-player game, we only had the gold one. You're going to have 70 of these tiles that have a representation, the symbol for the part that they repair, and a number here at the top. And you can see there's all different numbers. And so there's 70 of these in 2 groups of 35. You really will have to scan quickly to find the number that you want as quickly as possible. The game plays out over 5 rounds. For the first 4, you're going to draw a regular incident. There's a super crazy incident, a super incident here for the final round. And if you flip this over, you'll see, well, not in English, like I said, but you've got symbols for what it is that you have to repair on your vehicle. Sometimes those symbols might be different for the leader, the person who's in front here in terms of victory points. Sometimes the person who's in last place has to do something different, but this is one where everyone does the same thing. You've got to work on all 4 tires and the fuel. You flip this card over, one player reads it, or in our case, makes up some crazy story to explain what's happening on the card. And then you count down, 3, 2, 1. People can start then flipping over the parts of their car that they have to repair. You could flip over extra parts if you wanted to repair other ones and try and earn some extra points, but you have to be a lot faster than the other players if you're going to try and repair more than them before they grab that trophy, and then you have to stop everything. In this case, like I said, you've got to repair the 4 tires and fuel things up. And how do you do that? These are sums or differences on the tires. So one of these little tiles is going to go right here in the middle, but here I either need to find a 7 or a 9, 8 plus 1 or 8 minus 1. Here I need to find a 1 or a 7. And you're trying to quickly do that math, and then you're not only doing the calculations quickly, then you've got to find out of 70 different little tiles the right one that's going to solve your problem. If you really get stuck, you can grab one of these wild cards, these spare parts cards, but at the end, you will lose a point for each of these that you use. So you want to try and get the actual car part that's going to repair that tire or fuel up your vehicle. You can see that there are 2 empty squares on this one, and when you're fueling up your car, it's different. You're looking for the digits in between these 2 numbers. So here I need a 2 and a 3 in order to fuel things up, and I get 2 points instead of 1. So for each tire, I'm going to get 1 point if I'm able to solve the problem correctly. For the fuel, I get 2 points. Same for the engine and the wing here on the front. The engine cards are the ones that scared my son the most because he figured I was going to be a lot faster than him with solving multiplication. That's what you have to do for the engine. So here it's 8 times 9, and you're finding two tiles that are going to be the tens digit and the ones digit for that multiplication problem. Again, you're racing to find those two tiles as quickly as possible, and there are fewer of the engine ones and fewer of these little wings. For the wings, you're doing two-digit addition or subtraction, so that is a lot more challenging. It takes a lot more time than just the quick single-digit operations that you have to do to fix the tires, and that's why those things are worth more points. So you're grabbing, again, two of these little wing tiles, and there are fewer of these than there are for the tires. You really have to look for them. At one point, I was reaching for something here to solve this problem, and my son's hand went right underneath mine and he grabbed the one I wanted before I could get it. You really do have to, you're making these quick decisions, and we were sort of trying to avoid using those spare parts because we didn't want to lose the points, but then we wound up not getting any points because we couldn't always solve the problem. I think at one point he took the one tile and it was the only one there that we could find that would have solved the problem. When you grab one of these flags, you also get a little trophy token, and that's going to give you some bonus points for coming in first or second or third. And in this case, in a two-player game, I'm going to get 3 extra points for having this gold flag at the end. You check to see if you've made any mistakes, and if you have to give up your flag and give it to the second place player, and things kind of pass down. So that person's going to earn more points instead of you. You're trying to do this without making too many mistakes, and that's kind of the funny thing about the game. There was one time where both my son and I were reaching for the same part, and it would have been a mistake for both of us, but he got it before I did, and then he wound up messing up his engine because he grabbed a 1 instead of a 2. They were side by side, and he was in such a rush, he reached for the wrong one. And that's part of the silliness and fun of a game like this. On the 5th round, like I said, there's some crazy incident that's going to happen, and this is actually the one that we drew in the game, Armageddon, where you've got to fix everything on your car because there's a volcano on the track and there's fireballs flying around everywhere. So these ones are a little bit more fantastic maybe than, there was a wipeout in a turn and you have to repair those tires. You add up the points for the things that you repaired, you add up the extra points if you manage to get a trophy, and then you move your car ahead and you continue to play that out over those 5 rounds, like I said. 2 skills, really 2 important skills are involved in this game. You are doing those rapid mental math calculations, and one important part of math skills, one thing that sometimes is lacking for children who have math disabilities is automatic fluent calculation skills. Just being able to quickly retrieve from long-term memory the answers to these questions without actually having to solve them. Can you just look at these problems and know what the sum or the difference is, or do you have to think about it or count through? And this is a way of practicing and developing automatic math calculation skills because you're drilling those basic facts. The other thing, of course, is processing speed. You've got to be quick at recognizing the numbers and finding their locations in that 70 tile grid, the 235 tile grids. These things are hard to find, and you've got to work really quickly and make those decisions quickly, and that is a processing speed exercise. So those are the 2 skills really that you're exercising here. I'll put up a link to an article on LD at School, which has some information about math processing and how math disabilities work, but also some exercises that can help develop the skills, and of course math drills, either using flashcards or computer programs or a game like this where you really have to think about these calculations. That's all about improving those rapid automatic math calculation skills, which can make solving math problems a lot faster, easier, less tiring, less effortful. And that is Pit Formula in a nutshell, a quick math calculation game that exercises those processing speed skills. Thanks to the designers for sending this game along, and it's going to show up on Kickstarter, probably in English, later on in the spring. If you have any comments or suggestions for me, you can leave them below this video, or you can email me at brian@brainsongames.ca. Brainsongames.ca is the website. That's where future episodes will go, and the previous ones are up there already. Brains on Games is the Twitter handle and the Facebook page and the Instagram feed, so we're all over the place. And if you enjoyed this video, you want to be notified of future ones, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully I'll see you next time.